we'll get straight into it because, as I said, 4 brilliant games of Premier League action, and we'll start at the Saturday 12:30. This could be a cracker and a raucous atmosphere at Ellen Road. It's Leeds United versus Newcastle. We'll take a look at the betting that we have at matchbook.com. And you can back Leeds and the 90-minute odds at 5.0, Newcastle 1.71. The draw is available at 4.4. Both teams to score, yes. Heavily favoured in this market at 1.68. No is 2.3. The Asian handicap line that gives Leeds a 3/4 of a goal start at over even money, 2.08. And the goal line for this game is 2.5. But that's shaded a good bit towards the over. So, look, Mark, I'll throw this over to you in this one, and conscious of the selection you picked, but did you see anything in that last 10, 15 minutes in particular from Big Sam's Leeds side to tell you they can get something out of this game today or on Saturday?
Well, yeah, I mean, answer to your question, yes, but I'd flip it around and say it waited to the last 10, 15 minutes and, not ideal really when you think about the previous 70 and Leeds didn't do a huge amount, really. They almost kind of set up, accepted defeat at the Etihad. They sat very, very deep. They left Patrick Bamford incredibly isolated. He had a poor game anyhow, but, they just seemed quite happy not to have possession and just didn't see a huge amount there to suggest that they could improve. And yeah, the final 15 minutes and so was, I think, completely based on Rodrigo's goal. He came off the bench, provided a bit of intense there, and we got a bit of a sort of scrappy goal. But and then it kind of gave City a bit of a shake-up, really, with the missed penalty too. And yeah, in the last 10 minutes, they did provide City with a few headaches. But if you think about the whole fixture, the final score says 2-1 Man City. City were way below par and probably could and should have scored 3 or 4 goals in that match anyhow, despite playing nowhere near their best. They just kind of did the job that was required, really. Will that final 15 minutes give Leeds renewed belief? Perhaps, but I think it's a bit of a stretch to suggest that they're going to be kind of world beaters after just a couple of weeks with Sam Allardyce. And I think the way in which the results went on Monday kind of just puts extra pressure on Leeds now because they can't really afford to play for points, play for draws, really, which has always been kind of Sam Allardyce's way when he goes into a relegation scrapper. He wants to sort out the defence first and foremost and then kind of build on that. And that also often involves plenty of draws, plenty of points here and there, and sort of playing off low margin matches to pick up 3 points when they're able to. And I think just the way in which the Premier League table is right now, Leeds just are running out of time. They have to start playing for victories rather than draws, and that would be quite concerning. I think I guess when they sort of played at their best against Man City was when the sort of chaos element came, and that's what we saw Leeds at their best under Bielsa, under Jesse Marsch as well. But also that can be quite concerning, I guess, if you want to be with Leeds too. So I still would fancy Newcastle. It's not a match I've got a particularly strong view on. I think it's really tricky because of the Allardyce factor, because of the way in which both teams are almost desperate for the points now, because Newcastle, after I felt they're a bit of a lock for the top 4, losing that match against Arsenal last week and results elsewhere means they are now in a bit of a precarious position as well. So they need to start thinking about picking up points again. They have won 8 of the last 10, so it's not like they're in bad form, but I thought Isak was isolated and a bit wasted on the left last week. I thought Guimaraes probably had his worst game for quite some time as well. Jorginho did a really good job shackling him. But I also thought Newcastle's temperament was pretty poor in that second half. They lost their heads, and you need to be on the ball. You need to put your frustration to a side in these kind of fixtures. And I'm eager to see how Newcastle kind of react to that defeat. If you look at the numbers, they should really be winning this match. They've won 18 of 26 games against teams outside the top 4. They've won all 5 away trips at the bottom 5. They scored multiple goals in all 5 of those fixtures as well. When they have been going off odds-on favourites, they've been getting results and doing so quite consistently as well. So, I look at Leeds. It's hard to sort of back them with any confidence. They have lost 15 of 21 matches when priced up at 2-1 or bigger. That includes 4 of 6 at Ellen Road as well. So they tend to lose the matches they're expected to. But I look at the numbers here. That the handicap is high. I don't really want to back Newcastle to overcome a 1-goal handicap. The goal line is quite high too. Although I probably do expect goals in this match. 9 of Leeds' last 10 have featured 3 or more goals. 8 of Newcastle's last 10 have done similar. And then you think about the desperation of both teams for those points. It should really tend itself to be a decent watchable affair. But in terms of a betting heat, it's tricky. So I've just backed Newcastle to win and over 1.5 goals. They have scored at least twice in 8 of those 10 wins I mentioned. And Leeds have lost 6 of the last 8 and they've conceded twice or more in all defeats. So, yeah, it's not a strong selection, but I think it does boost the price from about 1.7 on Newcastle to win to odds against 2.02. But yeah, eager to hear how Adrian sees it.
Yeah, so am I, Adrian, because looking into this game, look, I put a lot of my thoughts on this game down to watching the hour of Sky Sports build-up of Big Sam propaganda ahead of the Man City versus Leeds game. And I've been bought in a little bit, but I just feel Ellen Road, tough place to go with that crowd. And I saw something in that Newcastle Arsenal game that frustrating with the fans and the players, that maybe they might potentially stumble over the line to this top four. Do you see any chance for Leeds here going into this game?
I don't give them a big chance, if I'm being honest. They've won once against the top half team all season. That was 2-1 at Liverpool, which was a long time ago. Yeah, so it's not going to be easy for them. I think you're right about Newcastle. They did lose their heads. I think they tried to rough Arsenal up. I think that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to bully them, be aggressive, and they kind of got it wrong. Arsenal, proud of the way Arsenal handled it, if I'm honest. How does Big Sam approach it? Because as Mark says, they need goals, they need points. But his way is to sit back, soak up pressure, and then hurt them on the break. So it'll be a fascinating game to watch. I think there will be goals. Both teams to score has landed in 10 successive Leeds United matches, which is mad, really. They've lost 6 of their last 8. So where I'm landing here is Newcastle to win, because I think that they're the better side. Isak, although he was out on that left, he still looked very sharp to me, and he still caused a lot of problems. Newcastle still created chances. They hit the post, obviously, twice during the game. So I fancy Newcastle to win, but I also fancy both teams to score as well, because Leeds will be a little bit desperate. Newcastle are attack at the moment, and they've got goals in them. So, yeah, that's how I see it. And Newcastle aren't the clean sheet machine they were early on in the season. They conceded at Everton, they conceded at Villa, they conceded at West Ham, at Forest, at City, and Bournemouth, and that's their recent run of away matches. So they haven't been keeping many shutouts. So for me, Newcastle will win, but I think they'll concede. So and the price is juicy. I've got to say, at 3.3.
Okay, yeah, you can definitely see the argument for goals in this one. And look, given the price, Adrian, as a podcast selection, we will go for the Newcastle and both teams to score at 3.3. Mark is heading for Newcastle and over 1.5 goals, 2.02, boosting that win price from around 1.7 to over even. So, well, we're checking them out. And all those selections